They're gonna be all like.
We're live.
Okay, welcome to our Choose Your Hard Mindset Workshop. Everybody out there online, we welcome you who's been participating in the first week of our Choose Your Hard challenge. And you can go ahead and share screen. We have 4 sessions, 4 segments today that are going to be awesome. And on day 1, Amber and I on the daily live, we talked about from the introduction of Stop Challenge Choose, Dr. A's ebook, about Dr. A's equation to success. And a lot of people just have the idea that, oh, I want something and I'm going to get it, right? And they might start doing something, but Dr. A talks about desire plus correct theory, the way that we think and the way that we don't think, right? And also plus proper method, because how many have heard 10,000 hours of practice turns you into a master or an expert, right? Well, out of screen right here, we've got a piano right here, and we could have put our kids at that piano and just said bang away for 10,000 hours. And that wouldn't be correct theory and it wouldn't be proper method, right? So they need to have instruction, they need to have mentorship, they need to have coaching, all these parts that plus the desire. And much to our dismay, our kids' desire went down. so this piano is just for looks a lot. And fortunately, all of our kids have friends that come over and actually play and fill our house with music. So, but all these things together lead to what we call predictable transformation. So when we really want something, don't we want a predictable method for achieving that? Like if I do A, B, C, I will create X, Y, Z. So we are going to kick off with Amber. She's going to talk about the first aspect of this.
Awesome. Maybe you can fix my whatever I did there. All right, welcome to Choose Your Hard Workshop. Welcome, Joanne. Welcome everybody online. We're streaming this out, so it's kind of fun. Lots of people are having different satellite locations in their homes, or some people are just joining on Zoom. So it's kind of fun. We'll call it a worldwide conference. Anyone from the world could come. We have at least, a couple hundred online. But okay, so let's start off. I hope that you're coming today to the workshop. Let's see if Jared can advance my slide for me. Thinking about something that you want. Okay, I have a friend named JC, and he always says, who doesn't want to be healthier, wealthier, or happier in your life, right? Those are all good things. But I want you to think of a specific thing in your life that you are working on right now, that you want to accomplish, that you want to get better at. So some examples are maybe you're wanting to lose weight or come off medications or increase your fitness level. Maybe you are wanting to improve your marriage. Maybe you're wanting to be a better parent. Maybe you want to grow a business. Maybe you want to make more money. Maybe you want to just go to Hawaii or something. I don't know what it is, but it probably falls in one of these categories. So we warned you guys that this is a workshop. And so this is your time to work. I want you to take your journal and I want you to write down at least one thing. You can write down more than one, but something that you are working on right now that you want to improve. And if anyone online is having technical difficulties, go ahead and message Jared. Just going to give you a minute. All right, so if you are online and you want to drop in the chat, maybe one of the things that you wrote down that you want to focus on. And I want to get maybe one or two from the live room. What's something that you guys are wanting to work on right now?
Go to Palm Springs.
Okay, she wants to go to Palm Springs. We're having a retreat. You have to get to a certain spot to go to the retreat. Who else?
Healthier with better balance.
Okay, healthier with better balance. Good, I like that.
I want to become an expert at having fun.
Oh,
Better.
Chantel wants to be an expert at having fun. I already see that you are, you're at like pro level, maybe not expert
Oh,
level,
yeah.
but pro level. Okay, I like that. Anyone else? Okay. All right, and you guys are dropping in the chat what you want to accomplish as well. All right, so I want to ask you this next question. I want you to journal this as well. Why don't you have it already? Okay, so what's holding you back? What's in your way? So just take a minute. I want you to write some reasons why you don't have that already.
Hello. Sorry.
Come on in. There's some chairs back here. All right, so I'll just give you another couple seconds. All right, so now that you've journaled, so we've journaled what we want to accomplish, a goal that we have, and we've journaled why we don't have it. What is holding us back from having that goal that we want to accomplish? Okay, so now I want you to get with a partner. And if you are online, we're gonna try to do some breakout rooms. Jared's gonna try to do that. We're gonna see how that works. And this is what I want you to do. And it's gonna sound kind of funny, but you're gonna get with a partner and in your whiniest kid voice, like how many of you have met a child before? Okay, everybody. And I want you to tell your partner why you don't have your goal in your whiniest kid voice. Okay, so let's do an example. So Jared, stand up. Okay, so if I were to, if maybe my goal was, I'll do just a funny one, that I wanted to go to Hawaii earlier this year. Okay, and so I'm going to tell him about my goal that I wanted to have, and I haven't had it yet. And I'm going to say why I didn't have it. So it's going to go like this. Hawaii's governor, they closed Hawaii and I wasn't allowed to go, and it's not fair. Okay. Yes, and other reasons, right? So you're going to say in your whiniest kid voice why you don't have your goal that you want. Ready? Okay, partner up. And if you're online, we're going to throw you into a breakout room. So we're going to have to stop.
Hi.
All right, we are off mute again. Hopefully you had a chance to share with a partner in your whiniest voice. So just to catch everyone up who's just recently joined, we journaled our goals and why we don't have it. And then we shared with a partner in our whiniest kid voice why we don't have it. So did anybody have a takeaway from sharing why you don't have it in your whiniest kid voice that they can share? We'll start live, and then if you want to share online, go ahead and raise your hands.
It takes time.
Anybody? Say it. Come on up, Michelle. I want you to stand right here. Okay, what was your aha from sharing why you didn't have your goal in your whiniest kid voice?
It takes time to build strength because my goal is to get better on the bike.
Okay, so it takes time.
Yeah.
Okay, how did it make you feel when you said it like that?
Made me feel like a baby.
Yeah.
Like a wimp.
Okay,
Yeah.
like maybe it wasn't as valid as an excuse as you thought it was.
Yeah. Super bummed because I thought it was a really good excuse. But yeah, now I'm having my doubts.
Okay, I like it. Thanks, Michelle. Did anyone else have an aha that they'd like to share? Anyone online raising their hand? All right, we will keep going, but if you didn't do the exercise yet, then go ahead and do this. And I'm telling you, when you do it out loud, when you give your reasons out loud in your whiniest voice, I think you'll have a similar experience to Michelle. It's like, oh, it doesn't seem quite as valid as I thought it was. And I want to like separate out like good reasons from excuses. So here's an example of this. Maybe you say, I can't go running today because I'm tired. That would probably be an excuse, right? You could probably muster it up and still go running, or I can't go running because it's raining. Well, you could probably run in your house or run up and down your stairs, but what about this one? I can't go running because I broke my leg. Valid reason, right? You
use a
literally
scooter.
can't go running.
You can use a scooter.
You could use a scooter, you could scoot, you couldn't run, but you could scoot, right? We had a scooter that's been sitting in our front room like for a month. We keep having injuries in our home, but this made me clean my house up. So I always appreciate events, it makes me clean my house up. Okay, so we are gonna go to the next slide. Jared's gonna get that ready for me. We're gonna talk a little bit about, share with your partner. I forgot that we had a slide on that. All right, so there's many points of view when you think of something, right? And sometimes our very first knee-jerk reaction isn't always the thought that serves us best. So I love this quote, one point of view is too small for the whole truth. So a lot of times there's several different angles that we can look at the same thing. So let's dive into this a little bit more. Okay, so when you said it takes too long to get stronger, would you say that that is something you can prove in a court of law is 100% truth and factual that can never be disproven? Michelle says no. If the lawyer's like, does it take too long? Can you prove it?
No.
Is it true? Grilling you up on this.
I take it back.
Okay. Michelle says she takes it back. Maybe. Okay, so maybe that is a story that you are sharing with yourself, right? A story that it's taking too long to get stronger to ride your bike. Okay, so I want you to look at the goal. So if you're just joining us late, then I want you to write down a goal that you have. A goal that maybe is around your health, maybe your healthy finances, maybe it's your mindset, healthy mind, and be thinking about that. So now I want to give you guys an exercise on how to separate the facts, the truth that could be proven in a court of law. Usually these are things that are captured by a video camera, okay? So if I were to have a video camera in my hand, I would say there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's a dozen people right now in my front room. Fact, right? Okay, that can be proven in a court of law. You could take a video camera and you would say everyone would agree, okay? But the story that I might make up along with that fact is that some of the people in my front room feel comfortable and welcomed. That would be a story that I would be making up. And then in my head, I think some of the people might be like, who's this crazy lady? Where am I at right now? She's got a tree in her house. I don't know what's happening. So that's some of the story in my head, is that some people are very comfortable and other people are still like filling this out, not sure what's going on, okay? So we separate those two things out. So what I want you to do is, surrounding your goal, the thing that you're wanting to accomplish, I want you to write down, what are the facts about that? What is the truth about why you don't have it right now? And what is the story that you're making up about it? So you've got to separate those two things out. Okay, so if my goal was I wanted to, let's see, what's a goal that I have right now? I know, right? That's good. Okay. I want to finish my yard, and the only thing left to finish is I need to build a pergola in my backyard, okay? And so let's see, the fact is I have not called the yard people. I've sent a text, but I've not called them to follow up. And the story is, it's gonna take too long, they're too busy, they're never gonna even call me back. I don't want to spend the money on that pergola because they overcharge you so much for yard stuff right now because everyone wants the yards done. And there is a scarcity of people to do it. So all of that is my story. The fact is, I have not called them. That is the fact. Okay, are you getting it?
Yep.
Okay, so go ahead and write out, journal out, what is a fact about the goal that you're wanting to happen in your life, and what's the story that you're making up about it. I'm going to give you just a little bit to write. Okay, now I want you to get with a partner. You're going to share with your partner what is the fact about your goal and why you don't have it, and then what portion is your story that you're making up about it. The things that you're imagining in your head that are happening, that you're adding on to the facts, okay? So go ahead and get a partner. Jared is going to put you in breakout rooms, and we're just gonna give you a couple minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll start coming back now. Give everyone a second to come on back.
Yeah.
All right, so did anyone have a takeaway about your goal that you're wanting to accomplish when you're separating fact from the story that you're making up about it? Did anyone like notice how the separation really helped you to see what could be proven versus what you're making up in your head?
I think Shan has.
Shan, come on up.
Oh, was it? I don't even think I told you this one. I just noticed
She
as
read your mind.
sometimes I think it's helpful to do it in a partner because you don't really notice what you're saying. But when Cherry was talking, I noticed that when she talked about the fact, she like had movements like this, and she was talking very direct and just, you know, we are building a house. And then when she started talking about her story, it's like that's when the emotion came in. It was like, and then they won't call us back, and then all the drama. So it was just like very different, nonverbal. So
I like that. Even your body language changes when you're talking about the facts versus
Yes.
like,
Yes.
and they won't call me back, and it's so dramatic. Okay, that's a great takeaway. Who else had a takeaway from the exercise of separating out the fact from what you're imagining about? Anybody? Anyone online? Go ahead and raise your hand. Oh, there's a hand raised. Jared will unmute you. Go ahead, Leslie.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Well, so my goal is to lose weight and get back to a healthy BMI. So the fact is, I'm eating extra carbs every day. And the story that I tell myself is I've had a stressful day and the only thing that's going to make me feel better is food.
Good, Leslie. Okay, so what was your takeaway from seeing the difference? Like, okay, yeah, I'm eating extra carbs, and then the story about it. What was your aha moment?
Well, my aha moment is there's lots of things I can do if I've had a stressful day instead of turning to food and eating extra carbs.
Good. Okay, so when you said it out loud, you're like, duh, right?
Exactly.
Duh.
That's a bigger duh than you.
A bigger duh. Thanks for sharing that, Leslie. Okay, so, and I think it's very powerful to both journal and also to share. So this is one of the reasons why in Optavia we have a coach. So a coach isn't somebody who tells you everything and they know all the things and they are the expert at everything, okay? That's not what we are. A coach is someone that you can share your goal with, that you can talk out loud with, and maybe they say, okay, is that what you're imagining about the situation, or is that the facts? And it's kind of magical when you have a coach, when you have somebody to just share with, how much more a breakthrough can happen. Okay, did anybody else see that? Like even sharing with somebody else, they didn't have to be like some crazy smart medical doctor for you to tell them out loud what you want to accomplish, right? And to kind of see what you're saying. All right, great. Jared's gonna share my screen. And go to the next slide. Okay, so surfing thought waves. So we have all these thoughts that come to us, and some of them are facts, and some of them are our imaginings or the stories that our brain brings us. So the first thing that is very helpful to understand is just because I think it doesn't make it true. And the second one is every thought that pops into my head isn't necessarily important. Is it super important if I thought right now, oh my goodness, you know what? I don't think I pulled my weeds out in the front. Everyone who came probably looked at all my weeds. Not very important right now because I can't go pull them. And if someone judged me for it, it already happened. So that's okay. Every thought that pops into my head is not necessarily important right now. A thought isn't in order. So with Leslie's example, she was saying, oh, I'm so stressed out. Her brain was saying, you need to eat extra carbs. And understanding that that thought that popped into your head, it's not in order. It's not, you must eat carbs right now or else. Instead, it's more of a like, oh, that's an interesting thought. I'm stressed out and I want to eat extra carbs. Thanks, brain. Moving on. And also, not every thought is wise. It's not always wise if you get a thought that pops into your head to yell at your family, if you're frustrated, to actually yell at them and to follow through. So really separating out facts from our stories, but also understanding that we can surf these thought waves. You can't stop thought waves from entering your brain and from hitting you at different times, but you can learn to surf them. You can understand that thoughts that come your way aren't always wise, they're not orders, and they're not always important. So what are we at time-wise? We're about done. All right. So next, I'm going to bring up Michelle, and Michelle is going to talk to us a little bit about not giving up.
Yes.
Okay, take it away, Michelle.
All right. I am very excited about this subject. All right, so the power of not giving up. We're going to talk about that for a few minutes. Let's get to the right slide. Thank you, Jared. All right, I want you to think about this in your life. All right, next slide. Can you imagine if babies could talk? What would it look like with mom and dad around and the big brother and sister, you know, putting the hands out for the baby? If the baby could talk, what might we hear? We might hear, hey, I don't think this walking thing is for me. I'm really good at crawling. This 2-foot thing up in the air, falling all the time. I'm just not a fan, but hey, you do you. All right. Like it's hard. We learn and grow from making mistakes. It's just how it is. I love that when we come into this world, we have confidence, we have a willingness to learn. But as we get older, sometimes that changes. We all stumble. Sometimes we fail, but this is how we learn. I want to share a story that happened a while ago, and it kind of illustrates all or nothing thinking. So I had a 6-year-old, Alicia, and she got the flu. And it was bad. It was not the 24-hour wake up the next day, you're doing better. It was days. And I remember after several days, one morning, she woke up and we're wondering, will she be able to eat breakfast? Will she be able to keep it down? But no. And after she had gotten sick that morning, she announced, I knew I would never get better. Well, how many times have we had that thinking when we are having a trial, stumbling or falling, just like, this is never going to get better? And that is dangerous black and white thinking. I think the best thing we can do when we're struggling is think straight, kind of like what Amber was talking about. Are we telling ourselves a story? What is fact? This week, I heard an experience that my granddaughter Sadie had. She's 4 years old. She's the only one at home. Her older siblings went to school. In fact, her mom asked her end of August, are you so excited? It's going to be just you and me when the kids go back to school. And she said, are we going to be running a lot of errands? Well, it wasn't errands this week. It was scrubbing the bathroom. And it was the first time that Sadie helped. And they did an amazing job. I mean, they had the magic eraser and the vinegar and water and all the stuff that smells good. By the time it was done, it was sparkling clean. And Sadie said to her mom, it's beautiful. Do we ever have to do it again? And her mom said, yeah, next week. She was crestfallen. You mean forever and ever? How many times have we felt like that when we have looked at the whole picture of what's ahead of us? It's just, it can be overwhelming. All right, that's where we're going to talk about micro habits. If you know anything about Dr. Anderson, he talks about micro habits and they are magic. Before I knew what micro habits were, I wanted to have one. I'll tell you this. This is from way back when I was like 9 years old and my parents gave me a journal. And I don't know why. Is there something about youth? Did you feel like there was some greatness ahead for you? And I just wanted to record this for the world, my life. And so I started writing every day. But after a while, boy, that first journal, I don't know. I don't think I finished the whole thing. I want to share this next. We can take the slide off if you want. I'll put it back in a minute. Okay, this is journal number 2. I found it. My husband found it yesterday, and it did have a lock because what was in here, I guess, was very private. The combination was on the back in case I forgot. Ha. And I just want to share a little bit about this official document at the beginning of my journal, which kind of is embarrassing. It goes from third person to first person and all kinds of things, but this is official and it says it. This is Mary Michelle Nelson's diary. It was given to her on Christmas. When I wrote this, I was 11. Everything is true, you read. I enjoy writing in my journal every night. Signed by Mary Michelle Nelson, a true writing autograph. Well, there you have it. I did learn to spell diary. It was on the next page, and I did see I did it correctly at the end of the book. But this was kind of the beginning of junior high. And I don't know why in the world anyone would want to document junior high. If you're in junior high, you're gonna love it. But it's the armpit of life, basically. And I was looking through it this morning, and I probably haven't looked through this in 43 years. And I found this. So in 6th grade, my dad encouraged me to run for office. And in 6th grade, you could run for second vice president. And I actually got in a runoff with this grassroots effort, Vote Well, Vote Michelle, on contact paper. And got in a runoff and lost. And I did it in 7th and 8th grade too. I lost every time, was in a runoff twice. But every time my dad would buy me flowers and write me a note. And I read that this morning and I don't think I've seen it in all this time since October 5th, 1978. Michelle, Mom and I are very proud of you. We are proud that you ran. We are sad that you lost. But we love you even more for trying. Heavenly Father will help you to understand that you have grown. That you have gained much experience and wisdom by doing your best. In later years, you will understand and be glad that you tried, even when you didn't win. We love you, Dad. There's truth right there, right? All right, let's go to the next year. It was Christmas. I stopped writing in my journal. It was time to start again. This started December 25th and went to January 11th when the journal went dark. I have a few pages and then nothing. I started the next year. I have 55 journals. I got better at it, but you know what I love about journal writing? It shows you progress. When you look backwards, you can see how far you've come. Even when you're in it, you don't always know that you're making progress. All right, we're gonna do an activity here. So what I want you to do is I'm gonna give you 2 minutes and I want you to journal. And this is what I want you to journal about. You do the next slide, Sharon. So I want you to describe an accomplishment that was difficult to achieve. And then also, what did you learn from it? And how did it change you? So I'm going to set a timer. Go ahead and journal. Okay, let's go ahead and stop. All right, I'm glad you took some time because now we're going to share kind of your thoughts with a partner or in the chat. I want you to share how have you been blessed by doing something hard. Use that few minutes. We're just going to take 2 minutes. So if you get a partner, maybe one of you take a minute and then switch places for the last minute. All right, let's do that. Go ahead, get a partner and share your takeaways. All right, there was our timer. All right, I'd love to hear some takeaways from any of you. How have you been blessed by sticking with something tough, when you didn't give up? Feel free to put it in the chat if you have something you want to share.
Not one of us stick them up right now.
Yeah. Who would like to share? Oh,
No, no, no.
Okay, Ashley, this is cute, Ashley. I was just thinking of when I was in nursing school, it was hard, like it was horribly hard for me. And I thought the first day that I was gonna fail for sure and be held back, but I passed and I ended up going on and I worked 12 years in the ER. And I'll tell you what, I'm really good at reviving somebody. I loved working in the ER. And so I mean, I got really good at my job. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I'm glad you're in this room. I feel safer just knowing you're here.
I haven't worked in 5 years, but.
I don't think you have to do that.
Okay, let's take one more. What's a way that your life has been blessed with sticking through something hard? Jared, do you have something?
Sure. Some people have heard me share this story before, but when I was a freshman in high school, I had a basketball coach that he taught me the principle that confidence comes from repetition. And he challenged me to come up with something that I could do in my life, and particularly in basketball at that time, to develop repetitions. And so I said, well, I can shoot 100 free throws a day. And he said, well, what's your goal with that? And I said, oh, I'm going to make 90% of them. And he said, what if you don't make 90%? I'm like, then I'm going to shoot another 100. I'm not going to just start over from that point. Like, oh, I only shot I've already missed 30. I'm gonna shoot the full 100. And then at the end of that 100, I'll start a new 100. And I remember the most free throws that I ever shot in a day was 1,300, 13 sets. And I probably went through 6 or 7 basketballs. They were all down the street because I kicked them down there. But yeah, Amber's like, yeah, that's no joke. I would get really mad at my basketball because my basketball's fault. And I remember the day that it happened, that it was raining because I lived in Portland and it always rains there. And so I was blaming everything, like, oh, the ball's slippery and the rain, and rain's getting in my eyes and the net, and it's affecting the flight of the ball and all this stuff. But I kept doing it over and over. And my coach at the same time was working with me to get me stronger so that I could shoot like a grown man instead of a little kid, because little kids like shoot down here and men shoot up here. And so changing my mechanics and working on all those things at the same time that I'm setting this goal was really frustrating. But I did it day in and day out, and I shot 100 free throws a day for the better part of 6 years. And during that period of time, I shot over 4 million free throws. But still today, I no longer shoot 100 free throws a day. But if you give me a few warm-up shots, I will bet you $100 that I'll shoot 90% the first time through now.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Jared. Go ahead and put the next slide up. All right. So probably a lot of you know Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the electricity, the light bulb, the first time. He has a quote that says, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that won't work." It would be silly if someone signed an NFL contract that said, "I'm only going to sign this if I can win every game." Like, we know that failure, you're going to lose some, but you're going to learn. Same with the concert pianist. There were some wrong notes along the way. It wasn't just, they were meant for greatness. So we all have that power within us. I love this. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is just always to try. Just one more time. So I want you to think, if failure wasn't an option, what would you hope for? What do you believe? And what is your dream? I'm going to share my dream in conclusion. So this is a picture of a few years ago. This is right before I started a master's program at Brigham Young University, and I was struggling with my health. And I actually remember before the program, I had been trying for so long, just lose weight so I don't cringe when I see the picture that's going to be there forever, right? And I couldn't do it. I started this program. It was once a week for 3 years, and it was 5 hours on Thursday nights. And I remember after the class, we did quantitative decision analysis, which I can barely say, statistics, economics. When I would leave, there would be this beautiful exit. It was lit with blue lights, and I would either to myself or sometimes I got my classmates to do it, hum Pomp and Circumstance. Meaning it's going to be worth it. Well, a few months before graduation, COVID hit, and there was no graduation. I still had the learning. My family celebrated with me, and my husband bought me this really cool pen that says Michelle Stevenson, MPA, BYU 2020. One of the greatest things that happened during my master's program was I had an answer that I've been looking for a long time, and it was an answer to my health. I saw my beautiful college friend, Lori Warren, post how she lost 30 pounds in 3 months. And you know what? She was my age. And I thought, what? I felt like I'd read every book, tried everything. What? Tell me, Lori. And when she introduced me to this amazing program, I started sleeping. My joints stopped hurting. I dropped 4 sizes in vanity jeans in 2 months. I'm sure it really wasn't a 12 to a 4, but I was ecstatic. I felt better than I had in 20 years. It's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. And so to end like we began, I would say, what is the power of not giving up? I would say the power is you get to write the ending of your story. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. You can turn off the slideshow for a little bit. Minute. All right, welcome, everybody. Hello, my name is Chantel Flake. It's good to see everybody. I see lots of people from all over the country. This is fun, the worldwide conference. So fun. So it's funny hearing Michelle talk about her journals, because I actually have my own journal story, and this is kind of what I'm gonna be talking about is micro habits. You know, this challenge that we've been doing is all about micro habits, right? Isn't that what we've been focusing on in the app? How you go in and you make your checks, your check pluses. And I just really want to put an emphasis on exactly what we're doing, like how impactful it is. So hopefully just this next little while, just like the effort that you're putting into this challenge, I hope you're realizing how much that's going to pay off. And even if it's just 2 weeks, like this has the ability to change your life. You can treat this challenge as just kind of a 2-week thing where you just literally do something for 2 weeks and then stop. But if you want to make it long-term, let's talk about kind of how that happens, okay? But I gotta tell you the story about my journal story, just like Michelle. I guess it's journal story day. But so I was definitely like Michelle, where I would start journals in them. You know, I kind of thought there are 2 kinds of people in this world, people that were good at journal writing, and then people that were not so good. And I was definitely just one of those, right? I like to speak my thoughts. I'm not big on like writing, okay? So I kind of had this identity around it. And last year I had the desire, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I think I can do this. And I got this journal. This is called the 5-year journal. And what's magical about this journal? I think that they must know Dr. A or something, because they totally know about the micro habits. And it's where you every day, instead of a big long journal, they have, what you do is you just write the date, and it's one little paragraph, and you write a couple sentences each day. Okay. So this is actually for 5 years. This whole thing is 5 years. So what I did, that's what I did. And you guys, just yesterday, I completed 1 full year in this. So I'm here to say micro habits absolutely work, because I just had an experience, and I really did have an aha moment. Like as I was sitting there finishing up that 1 full year, even though I've been studying this and I've read the life book, you guys, I've done this. I've been in this community 10 years. Sat there and I was like, it works. I felt like I had this key to success, you know, like finally when it sinks in, you're like, I've unlocked the secret. Like it's the secret. I know how to be consistent with something. And then my mind started going crazy. Like, what other things could I apply this to? Like this is amazing. So hopefully maybe you've had some of those aha moments during this challenge as you're just doing the first, those little micro habits where you're like getting that hope, like, hey, it's working. Maybe I can do a little bit more. So in the life book, let's go back to that definition. I had to do a little screenshot or a little picture of my own life book. So this is this is me underlining. It's not very, it looks like I crossed out the words, but I was actually underlining. It says a micro habit of health is a habit that's small, easy to do, almost impossible to fail. So I like that last, we understand the first part, right? It's a small, easy habit, kind of outline that, but it's impossible to fail at. It's impossible. It's so small. If you are not consistent with something, it's because it's too big. What if you could take it to a smaller level? So I want you to pull out your journal real quick. I want you to think about one thing that you're trying to be consistent at. Just it's one word, one phrase. real quick, 10 seconds. The first thing that pops into your mind, what is one thing that you're working on becoming consistent at? But you haven't quite gotten it yet, okay? Don't think too hard. Okay, next part. How can you bring that down to like the lowest common denominator, or like the lowest, most simple thing that you could be, that would enable you to be more consistent with? So bring down that goal, or not meaning that we're settling, right? It's just bringing that expectation down to where it's something you can actually do every day. I want to hear a few ideas. Put them in the chat. Who has some ideas? Throw them out. Getting up early. So how can you simplify that? What's your lowest, what's your micro habit? Going to bed early. Okay. What about, what's even something you can do in the morning that you could ensure that you get up early? Okay. An alarm. So every night you set an alarm. Okay, great. So that's not even like if you wake up early or not, that's great. But every night you're going to set your alarm. That's awesome. And side note, I've heard some people talk about never hitting the snooze button as their micro habit. That's all. They just never hit the snooze button. So I love that. Okay, who else? Let's take one more.
One sit up.
One sit up. Amber, but does that matter? One sit up.
Yeah, right.
But yes. Amber gets it. How do you feel like that's gonna help you?
Because if you do one sit up, you could probably do some more.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I only have to do one.
Okay, so I love that. For the movement part of our challenge is one, Amber's is one sit up, and then when she does more, it's plus. And how often do you do plus? Yeah, but Amber could say, I'm gonna do 15 minutes of workout every night. And what percentage of the time do you think you would actually be consistent if you said that?
Maybe 3 days a week.
Okay, so how consistent are you gonna be with one sit up plus maybe some?
100%.
Okay, great. Great. I think we found the secret to being consistent, right? Okay, so I have to think. What do you think?
For now.
Okay.
There you go.
So this is in the life book. If you don't have a copy of your life book, get one now. This is where all of this is found. And this talks about your micro habit of health on the top. Then the plus at the bottom, it's just a graphic of what we've already been talking about, equals consistency over time. So you're probably not going to find any results day 1, day 2, day 3, but that's what the magic of this power is. 1 year later, your journaling is you're gonna see that it pays off. You just want to move my slides. I don't know if mine's working. If you are persistent, you will get it. Hey, that could just be a motivational quote right there. Let's stop there. You're persistent, you will get it, right? Do you guys all agree? Yeah. If you work hard enough for something, you're gonna get it. But here's the key here. If you are consistent, you're gonna keep it. So think about, like, with this challenge, with your health, is it something that you just want to get to, or is it something you want to keep? Are you interested in I actually did a health assessment with somebody yesterday or 2 days ago that said, you know what, I'm okay if I just get to the weight for this event. I said, great. There's actually lots of different ways that you can lose weight. Lots of different ways. You know what? Maybe this isn't the right fit, but you could probably try a lot of things to lose weight. and we talked more about, I told her about the habits of health, and I said, well, if you ever change your mind, this is actually something that's going to help you keep the habits of health. It's going to require some more effort. Yes, absolutely. But are you interested in the consistent part? So I can help you with that. She was curious of seeing what that would look like. So this is interesting. How many have read the book Atomic Habits? Highly recommend that one. Who's up?
James Clear.
James Clear. Okay. And in this book talks about the results and the time. Okay. And if you think about right here, just look at the yellow line. when you set a goal, okay, when you have this goal in your mind, getting up early, okay, you're like, gonna do it. What you think it's gonna look like is that graph on the yellow, right? Well, in your mind, you're probably pretty optimistic. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna start getting up early. That's gonna like affect everything else in my life, and it's gonna become good. Like I'm gonna be making progress. Well, what actually happens is this orange line right here. We're gonna go over this more because it's a different kind of graph. It's called exponential growth, or like a compounding effect, basically. And it's usually you don't see a lot of change for a long time. That's why it's kind of flat at the bottom. And then just look at the orange line though as it on the up. Like, have you ever been like right, can't reach, but like right here when you feel like, oh my goodness, it's clicking. Like it's my moment with the journal, it's my aha, like this is working. I think I can do this. You ever been in that moment? That's a powerful moment. But I want you to look right here. If I were to shade this area in right here, that is called the valley of disappointment. That's actually when most people quit right there. That's you're disappointed in that section and you feel like it's not working. You think, well, you know what? I haven't seen any change this far, so I'm just going to quit. How many times have you done that with little small habits in your life? Are you going to do that after 2 weeks of this challenge? Are you going to get to the point where you're just like, well, haven't lost all my weight overnight, so I guess it's not worth it. Guess the 2-week challenge didn't work. I know we all have these thoughts. It sounds funny when I say them out loud, but I have the same thoughts. It's because we're human and this is the way it works. This is the way our brain works.
You have to say it in your whiniest voice.
Got to see in the whiniest way. Exactly. Amber, give us a demonstration how that works.
It's not working.
Right? Yes, it's so hard. Good. So just be aware of this as we're talking about it. Have you guys heard about the penny versus the 3? Okay, imagine that's $3 million. If I said to you, what's your name? Lindsay. Okay, Lindsay, if I said to you, I'm just gonna say to you, would you rather have one penny? And I say, I'm gonna give you this penny, but for 30 days, I'm gonna double that penny. Every day, I'm gonna double that penny till we get to 30 days, or I'm gonna hand you $3 million right now. What would you pick? Okay, well, let's see what happens. Okay, at the top, I wish I had something to cover up the bottom. Just look at the top real quick, okay? Imagine day 1 through 10. Day 10, you're at $5. Lindsay's kind of laughing at the person who chose the $3 million because she's like, haha, you only have 5 and I got 3 million. But as time goes on, we get to day 30. Lindsay, are you regretting your decision? Are you happy that you chose 3 million? Or are you sad that you gave up 5 million?
Give me, I get it 5 million.
If you would have picked, well,
She picked
sorry, you picked the penny. I'm sorry. Okay, good choice. If you would have picked the $3 million, then you would have been sad that you would have given up the 5 million. So you actually picked correctly. Sorry. So good. So isn't that interesting that the penny doubled? That illustrates the compound effect. Okay. I feel like, so this is me 10 years ago. This is me now. And I feel like when I first was introduced to this community, I felt like health was hard. Like I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I had a lot of thoughts of like, if I'm going to, like, I felt like I was a healthy person, but in order to truly be a healthy person, it felt like I had to try really, really, really hard every day. Like if you imagine like white knuckling something, right? You're squeezing so tightly, you're just like, I was at a healthy weight, right? I was a Zoom instructor. I was doing all the things right. But it felt like if I ever missed a workout, if I ever ate chocolate chip cookies or, anything that was the slightest off track, I felt like it would go downhill from here. I remember one day stepping on the scale and I was up a pound. This is how unhealthy my thoughts were. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is the beginning to the end. I'm gonna be overweight. You guys, 1 pound. That's just like a little glimpse into my brain. If I had a before and after of my brain, you would be shocked. Because I felt so like it was so rigid, so black and white, so like at any moment I would lose control. Can anyone else relate to this? Okay. So fast forward 10 years. Here's not a picture of my brain, but just a picture of my smile, where I feel 100% different about this. It is completely different. I feel like I loosen the grip, where it's just like, I feel peaceful about my health. I feel like excited about my health. I feel like this is something, I actually told a client this a little while ago. I said, I would bet my entire life, my kids' life, in everything, everything financially, that I'm going to be healthy until the day I die, with my own choices. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen with my health. You know, who knows if I'm going to get cancer, who knows, whatever. But the things that I do until the day I die, I know I'm going to choose healthy. Does that mean perfect? Does that mean I'm going to be the exact weight that I am today? No, right? It's not specific like that. I know that I choose healthy, and that's how confident I am with that, versus the out of control me here. It's just completely different. But I'll say it took 10 years of I wouldn't say it's been gradual over time. If I were to do the graph, it would exactly follow that trend, to where now I'm on the upward exponential growth, where that's when you feel unstoppable, right? When I put an X, like, do you ever feel like you've been here before? It just feels like it comes together, and it's a slower process, but I promise that wherever you are on that graph, you're starting with the micro habits, and that's how you get there over time. And my son this is like a trend, you guys. Kids don't smile in pictures these days. Do your kids do that? I'm like, Ty, we're on. He actually liked it. He had a lot of fun. So I don't know. He's so grumpy. Self-control is nearly impossible and unlikely to lead to long-term success. It kind of sounds like a negative quote, like, yeah, it's going to lead to unhealthy, not long-term success. But think about so if you take self-control, I kind of think of me white knuckling health. What would you say? What's another way of thinking about it? If it's not self-control, we know self-control is not the answer, which we think it is. If you read like a lot of self-help books, right? It's like, just do it, and you got this, and like, like if you take that away, if we know that's not the answer, what could be the answer to long-term success? Wise decisions. Okay, any other ideas? Habits. That is awesome. Any others? Choices. Okay.
Environment that supports what you want.
These are some I didn't even think of. The first one I thought of was habits. Habits, you insert any of these, environment, all these, that's what's going to lead to the long-term success. Maybe you've tried self-control, and maybe, I don't know, maybe today you're willing to try some other things, because maybe looking back, you're like, yeah, it kind of hasn't gotten me to where I want to go yet. So what could I do differently? If self-control isn't working, then maybe habits, maybe that's what's going to lead me.
When you say self-control, are you meaning more like willpower?
Yes, that's how I thought of it.
Because self-control could kind of go either way. But when you say willpower, that's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Yep.
And like Amber and you both said, it's like the white knuckle, I'm just gonna hang on, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
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 So you run out of energy.
You do. That's exactly right. That's a really good point. You run out of energy. If you're willpowering your way through, that takes a lot of energy. It's like going in a car, pressing down the entire, like pedal to the metal, your whole trip. Like it just, you're going to run out. What if you were to conserve? What if you were to put on cruise control? Like there's so many analogies here, but willpower versus habits. Really substituting that. So love that. Okay, so let's talk about this is kind of the phase of a habit or the cycle of a habit. Jared, how would you describe this chart? The cycle of a habit?
Sure.
Okay, I didn't know like a name for it, but this has been really impactful in understanding my brain and how it works.
Well, the development probably.
Development, I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, development of a habit. So I want you to make on your page, do like a big page, the whole page. So turn the page so you have lots of room and do a
Great.
grid. Okay, the plus sign in the middle.
Sign in the middle.
Whatever,
I
4
like that.
quadrants.
I like that.
I'm not a teacher, so.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so on the top left, so this grid is going, if you see the flow, it's gonna go from purple to yellow to green to blue. So on the purple, we're dealing with unconscious incompetence. If you're like me, the first time I heard this, I was like, okay, let me think, hold on. What does this mean? Gotta focus here. Okay, so this is basically the habits that you are not aware of and you're not proficient in. Not aware, not proficient. You don't have to you can write that at the top.
You don't know that you don't know.
You don't know that you don't know. You don't have to write anything yet, just jot down what it is.
You're blind and not good at it.
Yeah, it's your blind spots, basically. Okay, now when you come into yellow, write conscious incompetence. Leave room to write more. So this is just like the title. Okay, conscious incompetence. You know that you are not competent in these. So this is, I was talking to my husband about this the other day. He was just like, ouch, this is the one that hurts. You just know they're there. And some people are more willing to look at this than others. Maybe today's one of those days. Maybe this challenge is one of those challenges where oh, it just points out your, the things you lack in. It can be uncomfortable, but this is good. This is good. Okay, the green here is conscious competence, where you're able to use the skill, but only with effort. So it's things that you know and you're trying on. You're probably not good at them yet, or it takes a lot of effort to be good at them. So this challenge, like water. I remember when I tried to get more water, it was just so hard. I would fail so much, but I knew I was failing at getting my water. Amber grabs her water bottle right now. So it's kind of like the 10 years ago where I was conscious of a lot of my health choices, but I was trying really hard, white knuckling. And then this blue section is conscious competence. You actually, unconscious competence. So it becomes so much of a habit that this is like Twilight Zone music going on right here, because it's literally you hardly even know you're doing it. It's you get your water in and you get to the end of the day and you just think, I didn't even try to get my water in, but I just get my water in now. Or for me, eating every 2 to 3 hours, small, healthy, balanced meals, it felt really hard. It felt like I was always thinking about it. And then over time, it just became something that I would literally just grab my bag. I didn't have to set timers anymore. I just grab my bag and I just start eating when I knew it was time. And because I knew my blood sugar was low. Can you believe that you can get to this point with some things? What I want you to do to prove to yourself that this cycle works, this developmental cycle, is I want you to think of areas, your own habits, things that you deal with. We'll say health. You can do this with any area of your life. You can do this later at home, but we're going to deal with health. I want you to think of things that fall under each of the colors. Okay, so we're going to give you some time. Be thinking of what it is. Now, purple is going to be a little bit hard because this is our blind spots. So you may have some ideas of them, but you probably don't know for sure. It's probably going to look like, well, I'm not sure, but maybe it could be blank.
Just ask your spouse.
And if your spouse is smart, they won't tell you.
Unless you ask. This is why we have coaches. This is why we have mentors. This would be a great thing to present to one of those people to have them help you with this. But I want you to come up with your own ideas first, because sometimes your brain does know the answer. And it's going to bring it into more of an awareness, because once you've identified it, it kind of is already in yellow, right? So let's just take, let's take 2 minutes. Do we have is that good on time?
Yeah.
2 minutes, and we'll go on mute, and I want you to put your habits, whatever it is. Well, it could be, I want you to focus on not just healthy habits that are in this challenge, but maybe start thinking of mindsets, things that are going on in your brain that could also, and then we're going to throw out some ideas. So maybe you have a few more to add. Okay, let's finish up. And I want to hear, because I had this discussion with my husband, and it was really interesting to hear which things he thought, and it helped me know, like, oh yeah, like different angles for me to add things to mine. So who has ideas? Come on up in the room, or put it in the chat, or else raise your hand. We want to hear. Of an aha, maybe it could be an aha, or maybe it can be specific things in a category, just something. Some of them are pretty obvious, like, well, yeah, of course I'm good at that, I already knew that, but maybe some you discovered, maybe you had some discoveries. Yeah, do you want to come on up?
No.
Okay, okay.
Just repeat them.
Just
Turn the mic towards us.
allowing myself to be hungry
Okay,
and not always thinking of food, but having the food set aside for the whole day
mhm.
and then sticking to that, not varying from it, and just automatically basically doing that every day. So,
Okay, so that's one that you are in the blue with. That is just, it's just a habit now.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Like, do you even know how over time, think about that. Think about the compound effect of that habit of yours that you have into place. It probably took work though. Yeah. Like over time, you probably had to set timers at one point, but over time you did that. Awesome. Great example. Amber, did you have one? You wanna
Yeah.
share?
I couldn't think of the blind spots one. I'll test Jared later. But so I'm good at like playing volleyball every week. and pickleball every week. Like I have set times, like I'm not like, oh, should I go? Should I play or not? Like I just go because it's fun and I like it and it's on my calendar and I set it with my friends. But like if I was gonna do like next level exercises, like, oh, I'm gonna, bring my fitness to a new level, I'm not good at that. So I know about it, but I'm not good at it. So I'm in the yellow.
With that.
Yeah, and with my business, I'm super good at like every day I work on my business, I go to my computer, I do all the things I do. But then I identified that like doing new stuff, like, am I really bringing on like lots of new clients or new coaches, or I'm not as good at that. I know I want to work on it and I'm trying. So I'm in the green. Yeah.
Excellent examples. Love it. Anyone want to share online? Okay, so we have Anne says, I will, she walks her stairs daily. She writes 2 lines in her journal and she does a miracle morning and starts reading a book of her selection. So I think that those are the ones that are in the blue for her. I think it's really helpful to identify, like even though it's pretty obvious, like looking back at your day, but it really does give you a sense of like satisfaction to be like, you know what, like credit. I am good at these things already, even if it's just down to water, like whatever it is, like these are things that you talk to your coach about with wins. Does your coach ask you that? Like, what are your wins? Or do you ever celebrate wins? These are the wins to celebrate. Give yourself a pat on the back for getting it to that point. Does it give you a little bit more motivation and like, does it help you believe that it could happen more? Does it give credibility to the cycle? Like, do you think, okay, well, if that's happened with that, I actually had to work at that. And here's something that I'm not good at, and I could actually move that through and I could make it something that I was strong at. Yeah. Any other takeaways? Packing and taking all their own food to family functions the entire summer. How many people like are saying, oh, I wish, like, I want that. Like, that would be a great habit. Just get into place. Even like down to, I've had clients say that they feel like they don't want to offend somebody by taking their own food. That's actually, that could be something that is in the purple, where it's like, you don't realize some of the mindsets that might go behind that. So maybe looking at what might be holding me back from doing something because I'm afraid, I'm worried what somebody will think. I didn't know I was, but now I want to look at that and I want to move that into something, the yellow section. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Just based off of Jill said, the eating, I find myself eating all day.
Okay.
Out of boredom or just to eat. But along with the self-control, I find myself also self-sabotaging. And I guess, that's probably in the purple, but if I lose some and then I'm like, oh, I'm not in my comfort zone anymore, hurry, go back, eat. So then I go back to being, 200 pounds when I just lost like 15 pounds. It's like, no, stop, so that I find that really hard too.
Okay, that is huge. That discovery right there, you identified something that is probably in your purple, right? Where you said you've noticed a pattern in your life. Or like, I'm self-sabotaging myself. When I get down 20 pounds, then all of a sudden, I'm not really sure what's going on in my brain. I haven't thought about it yet, but something's happening in my brain that's making me gain that weight back. And I can't stay there. I'm not staying there right now. So looking at that and saying, maybe that's a discussion that you have with a coach, with a mentor, somebody that can help you really understand what's below that. Like, what thoughts, what things are we telling ourselves out of habit? It's really not your fault, right? It's just the way our brain was conditioned, probably maybe something from childhood, who knows, that we could look at and say, if I were to switch that a little bit, I would become aware. And it's kind of uncomfortable once you have that aha moment of, wow, it's because I've been telling myself, I'm trying to think of something you might like. It could be, I'm not worth it. Honestly, I've heard that from people. It's self-value. It's saying, not saying it's yours. I'm just saying that's, some people say that. That's moving into the yellow, saying, wow, I tell myself I'm not worth it. Isn't that interesting? It's okay to sit here for a long time and just say, I'm just gonna notice it. I don't actually need to change anything right now. I'm just gonna sit here and notice how many times I tell myself that. If you pressure yourself to change it that day, it's probably not gonna happen that day. But over time, as you notice that more and more, maybe you would have the desire one day. You guys, 20 years, I didn't want to write I knew I was a bad journal writer, but I didn't have the desire to change it. But then one day I moved to the green and I'm like, I actually want to change this. I'm actually going to start trying. So maybe one day, moving from, am I worth it? Maybe the opposite is true. I don't know. Maybe how could the opposite be true? Moving into green and then going into blue.
I was gonna say that I've been playing the piano since I was probably like 8. And I got to a certain level of competence that,
Do you want to come up here and say it?
okay, am I looking in here?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Cherry. I was saying that, when I was younger, I started playing piano when I was like 8. My mom gave me a couple years of piano lessons, and I got to a certain level of how I could play the piano, and I could read most pretty easy music. And so I got like to a certain level that I felt comfortable. I could play like church music, primary music, stuff like that. And so it was like, I'm good like right here. This is a good spot. And I really hadn't challenged myself to play anything harder. And so this last year, they asked me to play a song for church for the young ladies. And so there was like some parts of it that were harder than what I was used to. And so I had to practice, and I kept making mistakes. And when you're accompanying someone, you just have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like stop and go, I made a mistake, go back. And so that kind of inspired me to start learning how to play harder music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a piece that was harder that I actually had to like count, like, where is that really high note up there? Where is that? And so I wrote it down because my brain didn't register where it was. And so that was kind of like my little cheat, was to write on it until I recognized it through practicing, mistake.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right. And so that made a huge difference in my own confidence. Like, I can learn hard things, even though I'm making a mistake while playing it, because I want to play it perfect. I'm one of those that wants it to be just right. But
amazing. Yeah.
it built my own confidence just in learning a harder piece.
Well, that's a perfect example of sometimes how there might be an event or something that might happen in your life that triggers the change. And sometimes it's something really hard. It's maybe something you're embarrassed about, or I hear a lot about like, I saw that picture that I didn't realize what it looked like from the side, or whatever it is, where it kind of triggers a change. But this is the cycle that's happening in our brain. So thank you guys for going deep on micro habits with me, and just know that as you're in this challenge, just know that the next 2 weeks matter. Every day matters. And even though, like, if you do get 3 deep breaths or not, our brain wants to trick us. I don't know about your brain, but my brain wants to say it's not that big of a deal. That's like the lie my brain always says. I have to go back to, actually, it is. It matters. This one thing matters, because it does. Over time, it does matter. So thanks. Thanks to you guys.
Just a chat.
Oh, Amazon.
Tell them that Shannon got her journal, 5-year journal on Amazon.
Get your journal on Amazon. Get anything you want on Amazon. Okay. If you don't find it on Amazon, it's probably doesn't exist. Okay, so I'm going to talk about kind of everything that everybody's talked about, right? And it's all the pieces of predictable transformation. I put a picture up here of Amber and I in 2009, right at the beginning of 2009 and just earlier this year. And the difference in those 12 years is what Chantel just talked about. We're not perfect, but we've made a commitment to development. That area, I don't remember what color it is off the top of my head because it's in different colors and different pictures and stuff. But when Chantel was talking about it's the conscious incompetence and conversation with her husband Tyler about that's where it hurts. It's your commitment to that section. It's your commitment to bringing the unconscious incompetence into conscious incompetence. That's where development happens. It's recognizing the things that we don't see, being able to be told. Nobody likes to be told what they don't like to be told, right? I hated when my coach, as a freshman in high school, told me that I was shooting incorrectly. I'm like, I could probably outshoot you right now, old man. He was like 35 at the time. I'm now like 12 years older than he was when he was my coach, right? But I was like 14, 15 years old and he's 35 and I could run circles around him. And he could probably outshoot me. He was a really good shooter. But he told me some hard things. And I went home and probably 6 of those balls that I kicked down the street and stuff when I missed my 90% shooting my 100 free throws for the day, I probably said, dang, Coach Osborne, I hate that guy. He's the one that convinced me to shoot 100 free throws a day. I'll guarantee you that I cursed his name. But he's to this day one of the best coaches I've ever had because he also demanded things out of me that he didn't demand out of other people. He demanded higher grades out of me. He was my coach for 3 of my 4 years of high school basketball. He had progress reports that he required. And I knew what some of my teammates were getting grade-wise. And I'm like, why are you getting on me for this? I got a B+. He's like, yeah, but you're not a B+ student. He's like, they struggle in school. They've always struggled in school. He's like, you're getting a B+ here because you're being lazy. You're not a B+ student. You're an A student. This is an easy class for you. Like just turn in all of your homework, right? Don't be tardy to class, right? It was things that I was just losing awareness of, right? And so he wasn't the one demanding out of me. He was teaching me to demand excellence out of myself in the areas that I wanted to be excellent. He's like, if you don't care about an area, then I'm not going to ride you. Kobe Bryant, one time, this story was told after he passed away, but one of the broadcasters that covered the Lakers became good friends with him, and he had some challenges with alcohol. And afterwards, he told the story of how the broadcaster, his wife came into his home office one time and he said, Kobe's here. He's like, no, he's not. Kobe's not coming to my house. He's like, yeah, he's in our front foyer. And he goes out there and Kobe's like, you're better than this. Let's kick this thing. And he said, do you demand excellence out of everyone? And he says, no, if someone doesn't say that they want excellence, I don't demand anything out of them. I'll just be their friend. But the second that I know that they want to achieve greatness in any area of their life, I'm going to ride them all day long because I want them to get what they want in their life. Because when you fight for things that you say you want, but you're not actually committed to, you haven't made a strong enough decision to act upon those things and start to make progress, that gap is called integrity. And integrity will kill your confidence. You can't look at yourself in the mirror, and you can't share with your kids or a friend or someone who's hurting that you want to lift up. You can say something that you know to them, but it's not going to mean the same thing because you know that there's a gap. Not that you're not perfect, but that you're not progressing. So I want to talk to you about that progression. So I share this with people a lot of times. This is a greeting, Sawubona. It's a greeting amongst South Africans. And the word means I see you, and by seeing you, I bring you into being. A lot of different cultures have greetings like this. In the islands, they say aloha, both hello and goodbye. In the Jewish culture, they say shalom, right? Very, very similar meaning. But in English, in the United States, we say, hey, what's up? Right? How are you doing? And we don't even realize that we're saying, how are you doing? Someone says, oh man, I haven't been doing, what? What'd they say? I just said hi. No, you said, how are you doing? Right? And you don't even think about it. If you want to see how bad it is, just spend a day, and every person that says, how are you doing to you as a greeting, say how you're doing. Like extend it and see if they really want to listen to you or not. It's just a greeting. It doesn't mean anything. It's just empty gestures, right? So I say this from using this because we've been conditioned in our culture out of consciousness. And we want to bring consciousness back to people. So Eckhart Tolle said, the awakening of consciousness is the next evolutionary step in mankind. So one of our great mentors, Jim Dethmer, one of the founders of the Conscious Leadership Group, he talks about the line is the most important model we know for being a conscious leader. And the line, there's above the line and below the line. And it's just a model. So above the line is open, curious, conscious, committed to learning. Below the line is closed, defensive, committed to being right. I recently had a conversation with a coach on our team about a challenging circumstance in their family. And they made a decision. He said, I still don't know if I made the right decision. And I said, wow, that's heavy. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, it sounds to me like you were trying to figure out the one right decision. Like there's only one right decision. And that every other possible decision, the billions and trillions of possibilities out there, are all wrong. And he goes, you just made life so much easier. And I'm like, I would stand to bet someone that there are equally as many right decisions as there are wrong decisions. But is your decision, whatever it's going to be, is it going to help you progress and create what you want in your life? Or is it going to stand in the way of that? So above the line is responsibility. There's responsibility in play, right? So on the responsibility side, I commit to taking full responsibility for the circumstances of my life. No more, no less, right? I'm not going to take blame for something that is someone else's issue, right? I'm only responsible for my part in it. So in a marriage, I have my part and Amber has her part. Her part is her part. It's not my part. We come together and we share a life together, but that whole life is made up of parts, right? I can't be responsible for her because she's a completely different person. I choose not to take responsibility for my children. I teach them certain things. I teach them that the most spiritual act that they will ever engage in life is choosing. That their choices will determine what their life looks like. If they want their life to look like A, these choices are going to help them get there. If they don't want their life to look anything like that, then take any other choice you want, right? And our kids have, I mean, we love the results, right? Because they've made a lot of decisions that we've taught them, hey, these decisions will lead to this kind of life. And they've behaved that way. But guess what? My kids, they still have a full life to live. Millions and millions of choices to make. I guarantee you, they won't always make the decisions and the choices that I want them to make, but that's their development. Part of figuring out life and part of development is learning what to do and learning what not to do to create the results that you want. So on the responsibility side, I'm committed to blaming others and myself for what is wrong in the world. I commit to being a victim, villain, or hero and take more or less than 100% responsibility. Play. Kids are great at this, right? We have a big giant sandbox in our backyard. It's a volleyball court. And then we have a little sandbox for the little kids to play in while we're playing big kid games. But the kids will get in there and they just throw sand at each other and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that hurts. And the other ones cry and stuff. But most of the time, when up until a certain age, it's not malicious. They're just figuring it out. They're like, whoa, this is crazy stuff. And they just start throwing it because they like to throw stuff. They pick up rocks, they throw rocks. There's toys there, they pick up and throw toys. That's just what little kids do. They're just playing, they're figuring out what things do, how things respond in the world. But so, am I committed to a life of play, improvisation, laughter? Or on the bottom, am I committed to living a life that's so serious that I have to figure everything out? See everything as a distraction.
I like the part that says, it requires hard work, effort, and struggle.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound as fun.
Yeah, about probably 10, 15 years ago, there's this, everybody started putting like the vinyl on their walls of their house and pictures and stuff. And it said, I can do hard things. And I refuse to ever have that sign on the walls of my home because everything is not hard. The laundry, if you put signs like that on your walls, everything will start to be hard. Your reticular activating system will start to look for things, proof that things are hard. Oh my gosh, the laundry's hard. My freaking laundry machines do the work for me. Like it's like I put the clothes in one and then it takes me 15 seconds to switch it and then I pull out and it might be like per basket, might be 10 minutes of folding. That's not hard work. Like I remember hearing about people that like washed them on washboards and stuff. And then I had to do this when I was a kid, help my mom hang stuff out on clotheslines. I'm like, that was terrible. And then the clothes weren't even clean.
They smelled weird.
They smelled weird, right? Okay. So most people, a lot of people say, oh, I want to be free. I want freedom from something or for something or something like that. Most people don't want freedom because freedom requires responsibility. And most people are frightened of responsibility. So I want you to ask yourself 4 questions. Where am I on this line? Am I above the line or below the line? Take a situation with your health, for instance. Like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, get to a healthy weight. I'm trying to become more fit. I'm trying to get better rest, better sleep. Right? Something that with your health. Where am I in relation to the line? Am I above the line or below the line? Am I open and curious to the possibilities and developing in this area? or am I committed to being right? Am I holding a hard position? Okay. Can I accept myself for where I am? Because above and below the line, how many of you want to be above the line? A lot of people, when they look at the binary model, they're like, well, I want to be up there. I prefer it, right? We have a preference. I would prefer to be playing sand volleyball on a sunny day than sitting in church, right? It's my preference. That's my church. I love being out in the sand and I love playing with my friends and stuff. But so it's my preference, but neither one is right or wrong. There's times for each, right? And below the line is not wrong. It's just where we go, and it's where we go often because there's adrenaline down there. There's other people down there. There aren't as many people above the line. Because below the line is where drama lives. And we're like, oh man, I got to go tell someone my drama, or I got to go listen to this person's drama.
My whiniest kid voice.
In my whiniest kid voice, right? So question number 3, am I willing to shift? Now, this question alone is another half-day workshop, okay? Because there's a lot to this, but just from a superficial place, are you willing to shift? Not do you want to shift, but are you willing to shift? Willing and wanting are two completely different things. I ask myself this with everything that I want to all my goals on a daily basis. Are you willing to do this today? Are you willing to do this in this moment? Because I can want it, but if I'm not willing, I can drag my feet. And when I first started this program, first 3 days, I was having a hard time getting into fat burn. My wife, our 3 little kids at the time, they're like, we're going to the rock show. Not like rock and roll, rocks, like sediment, whatever. Yeah, sedimentary rocks, right? And I'm like, fine, I'll come. And they're like, no, we're just letting you know where we're going. You're not invited, right? Because I was dragging my feet. I was grumpy and stuff. Like if we have that kind of attitude and that kind of demeanor, even with ourselves, talk about willpower, right? We're just white knuckling. And number 4 is how will I shift? How will I shift is kind of 2 parts. What's the process and who's going to help me? Because anytime we don't have skills, skills are learned through other people who do have those skills. If you want to learn those skills faster, you can. I know people who sat down at a piano and they figure it out, right? I mean, you can watch YouTube now and there's like YouTube teachers. But back in the old days before YouTube, right? I knew kids that would just sit down and they'd plunk away and stuff. And after a little while, they could play a full song. But if you want to accelerate your growth and your development, you find a coach. Okay, so there's this formula called the change formula. Okay, how many of you remember back to like elementary school, late elementary school, when they talk about order of operations? Order of operations is really, really important. I sucked at order of operations even till I got into a college calculus class. And I'm like, I cannot remember these things. And my professor's like, what? Didn't your teacher ever teach you PEMDAS? And I'm like, oh yeah. So then I remembered order of operations. So the change formula is vision times dissatisfaction plus first steps. If those things are greater than resistance, the result will be change. Okay. How many of you have ever started just doing something like, oh, I need to change something, or I've got this goal and stuff. So you just start doing something, right? And you haven't really developed a vision or determined why you're doing that thing, what the dissatisfaction in your life is. And then your first steps kind of like start petering out, right? They lose steam. Because you have to have the order of operations right. Okay, so you always do what's in the parentheses first. 12 years ago, when I decided to make some major changes in my life, I was really, really dissatisfied with my energy levels, with my confidence, with my feeling of lack of security in the world, especially financially. And I knew that I needed help. My dissatisfaction was huge. But we also had great mentors that said, what's your vision? So we started to visualize what we wanted our life to look like, what we wanted our life to feel like. For 12 years, my vision has never changed. Like the pictures have changed and stuff, but the vision of the emotion that I wanted in my life has remained the same. And the vision of my life 12 years ago was, I want a life of peace. And I still want a life of peace, and I want a life of peace for other people. But that peace comes from knowing the things. I started to like, okay, what's going to bring me peace? What kinds of people do I want in my life that bring me peace? What kinds of things? What kinds of experiences? What kinds of learning? What things bring me peace? So I started to add those things. I started to create this big vision that compounding with my dissatisfaction in life, and then knowing the first steps. My mentors, my coaches put those first steps, said, hey, this is your first one step. These are your next 2 steps. Now I can run a lot more steps on my own. But back then I had to be told a lot of steps. One other thing, model that I want to show you is stewardship is, most of us look at life linearly. We only look at the x-axis of life. And we have the breadth and width, but not the height and depth. And everything is just this big sphere of information, right? So stewardship is a word that I love, because the model of stewardship really started in about the late 15th, early 16th century. And it was mostly when a young monarch took rule. And they weren't ready to rule a nation, a kingdom. So they would put stewards in place, often a team of people, but there would be a head steward. And there was someone with more wisdom. It was someone who's willing to serve, someone who had the good of the people, the collective. But we can be stewards of ourselves too. We have these different parts of our brain. The limbic system in our brain is there to protect us, to keep us alive. It's the fight, flight, freeze, faint part of our brain. It is there to help us survive. Prefrontal cortex is all of our ambitions, thoughts, and so we're like 2 different people, right? How many of you have ever like, man, I think I'm split personalities? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm crazy up here. I know I'm crazy, but I have split personalities. I have this part that is just like, no, you can't do that. I'm scared and I'm fearful and stuff. And then I've got this part of my brain, part of me, and they're both parts of me. But I let that higher part of my brain be my steward. So I ask myself, Tony Robbins always says that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your emotions. But I've learned that the quality of our emotions are largely determined by the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves and that we ask other people. So what questions are you asking yourself? And some of the results of being a steward is you start to own your desires. prior to 12 years ago, I didn't own any of my desires. I was just like, oh, that'd be nice and stuff, but I didn't take ownership of those things. I didn't take responsibility for those things. You start to vividly visualize. You start to choose consciousness. We ask a lot of questions because questions raise consciousness. They raise awareness. Chantel's questions about like, okay, go through all these colored boxes on the grid and ask yourself what parts of your life fit into these. So, how many of you have ever lived on this x-axis between restriction and indulgence? And we call the middle moderation. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is where it is in conjunction to the line for most people, most of the time. Moderation, oh, I'm being moderate right now. Yeah, but you're still in this tug of war. Right now, I'm in the middle. I'm moderate right now, but I'm still getting pulled by my indulgence. And on opposite ends of the spectrum, we talk about self-control and self-discipline. They're two totally different things. Self-control is a person's ability to resist things that they probably really like that won't help you achieve your goals, that won't lead you in the direction you want to go. Self-discipline on the other end of the spectrum is being willing to engage in activities that you don't necessarily like because it's going to help you reach a destination. We're always caught up. Ask yourself this: am I stronger in self-control or discipline? And it might change in different areas of your life. It might be different in your relationships than in your physical health. Okay, so this is the other part of it. At the top of it, it's like a bell curve. At the top is stewardship, and at the bottom is ignorance and negligence. Okay, so moderation, you can be a steward living moderately as a steward, or you can live moderately as a negligent person, right? Like you're just like, oh, I've got to ignore everything. I can't be around cake, or because I've got a weakness for cake and stuff. And you're just, rather than asking yourself, moving yourself consciously and saying, what do I want? Do I really want the cake? Or do I really want health? Do I really want to be proud of the decisions I'm making in this moment? Or tomorrow, do I want to feel bitter and feel sad that I didn't respond in the way that I wanted to? So 4 more questions, ask yourself. Identify an area where you are or have been in the moderation tug of war. Do you want this to change? Are you willing to approach it differently? And then what is one micro habit that you can put in place to raise your consciousness and shift your behavior? So if you struggle in social situations with a host or hostess coming up and offering you food, what's a micro habit that you can put in place to raise your likelihood of success when it comes to indulging in party foods, right? Reduce the number of offers 60% by simply having something in your hand. If you have a water bottle, a glass of water, or a plate of carrot sticks or veggie tray or whatever on your plate, 60% less likely that someone will come and offer you something. Some people offer me stuff all the time, and I'm like, oh no, I already had some 12 years ago. Right? They don't need to know when I had it. They never ask me when you had it. They're like, oh, I've been watching you the whole time. I haven't seen you have any. They don't care about you, they care about them, right? Okay. Why would we want to go through the pain of development? Just a couple of quotes to end here today. People have said the same thing in a lot of different ways, and I love when things are said in different ways, but it's the same principle. Because when a lot of people say it just in different ways, it means that it's a true principle to me. So number one, many people die with their music still in them. Why is this? Too often, it's because they're always getting ready to live. Before they know it, time runs out. This one from the Gospel of Thomas in the Apocrypha. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And this is one of my favorites of all. This comes from Jim Rohn. He said, each of us has two distinct choices to make about what we will do with our lives. The first choice we can make is to be less than we have the capacity to be, to earn less, to have less, to read less and think less, to try less and discipline ourselves less. There are choices that lead to an empty life. The choices that once made lead to a life of constant worry instead of a life of wondrous anticipation. And the second choice, to do it all, to become all that we possibly can be, to read every book that we possibly can, to earn as much as we possibly can, to give and share as much as we possibly can, to strive and produce and accomplish as much as we possibly can. All of us have a choice to do or not to do, to be or not to be all or to be less, or to be nothing at all. Like a tree, it would be a worthy challenge for us to stretch upward and outward to the full measure of our capabilities. Why not do all you can, every moment you can, the best you can for as long as you can? This is not about being perfect. It's about understanding our capacity, understanding what we're capable of, and what we want to accomplish. Why we want to change the things that we want to change, putting the steps in place, having coaches, mentors, people who support us around us, and then taking those steps every single day. And when we fall short, we identify, hey, what box am I in? Why did I fall short? Why am I not able to do this unconsciously yet as a habit? 12 years has gone by. I'm really good with my nutrition. I'm really good with exercise. I'm really good with sleep. And I said I was really good with nutrition, but guess what? There's one area of nutrition that I struggle with. It's really easy for me to go way too heavy on one macro. Well, two macros, protein and fats, right? I don't get enough healthy carbs most of the time. So recently I've been conscious about adding in complex carbs, adding in more vegetables to my day. I already ate quite a few vegetables and stuff, but I needed more vegetables for the amount of activity that I was engaged in. So it's about getting better. Just each day moving forward, working on things that we're struggling with. So we would invite all of you guys. We've got another week of our 10-day challenge, or our 2-week challenge, Choose Your Heart. Keep going strong, keep getting on our daily lives. And we appreciate you guys spending a couple of hours with us on a Saturday, and wish you guys a great weekend.
Okay, we're still, guys. You guys want to